Adam B here with Kraft Music, and today we're going to take a look at the Roland RD-08 digital stage piano. I'm particularly excited about this piano for a variety of reasons. One, it's lightweight and slimline, so traveling with it's going to be a piece of cake. Two, it has all the control I'm ever going to want, including pitch and mod and some useful dials up on top. It's loaded with a bunch of fantastic tones. It has 3 pedal inputs, line level outputs. This piece, to me, would suit a professional on stage in a band, solo piano with some external speakers, in your home studio as your main controller or as your piano. Even for a young student, this would be an ideal practice instrument because it does have built-in speakers and a fantastic key action. Let's take a closer look at some of the features of the Roland RD-08. The Roland RD-08 has some fantastic grand piano and electric piano tones from Roland's supernatural sound engine. There's 3,000 tones in total, and many of those other tones come from Roland's ZEN-Core sound engine. There's so many great sounds in here, and if we take a look at the panel up on top, here's how you can kind of navigate through some of those tones. First, you'll notice the general sound categories of piano, e-piano, organ, synth, and others. So right here, we'll start with pianos, and then I'm going to use these buttons here to arrow up or down, increment, and decrement. So right now, I'm in grand piano, and let's arrow down, concert grand. Now I can increment over to all the different grand pianos. If I'd like to see all of those options all in one stack, I can just hit enter. There they all are. And I can select them from here as well. Look at all those fantastic piano tones. Same will be true for electric pianos. Same will be true for organs. So that's how you scroll through individual tones. Now, once I've selected a tone, we'll go ahead with the concert grand. I can then set up a split. Look, I've got a split button right here. Of course, a split gives me one tone in my left and a different tone in my right. The 2 tones are listed right here on the screen. The tone that's highlighted is the tone I can change. So right now I could change concert grand if I wanted. My other tone for the left is the acoustic bass. Let's arrow down to that. And let's maybe choose an acoustic upright. So now I'll have an acoustic upright and a piano. I can arrow up to the concert grand, and I can change that tone as well. That's how you set up a split, and that's how you change your tones in a split. If I touch and hold the split button, I can choose the split point. Right now it's on F# 3. If I want that split to be up here or down here, I'll touch and hold that split button and touch the corresponding key. There, I've just changed my split point to F4. Let's put it back to F# 3 because that's a really good place to have a split. So you can put your split point anywhere you like. So now let's take a look at the dual mode. I'm going to turn off split, turn on dual. Another term for dual is a layer. This is going to be 2 sounds at one time. A real common dual or layer would be piano and strings, but they can be any 2 tones that you'd like to have. RD-08 will default to grand piano and strings. I can change either one of those tones. Here I am in the screen. Concert grand is illuminated. I can arrow down to the full strings, and with increment, I can just choose a different patch. Or I can arrow up, and instead of the concert grand, we could use mono piano. I can have a split and a dual. This will be one tone in the left hand, but two tones in the right hand. And there's my three tones, and you'll see that they're labeled up 1 and up 2. So those are the two tones I'm going to hear in my right hand. And then low. Here we've got an acoustic upright. You can choose any tones you want for these. I happen to like the defaults, so we'll leave them there. So here I've got acoustic upright in the left. And in my right, I've got mono piano and stereo strings. I'm going to turn off the split, and I'm going to take us out of the mono piano, back over to a nice stereo piano. There we go. That's beautiful. So here's my dual of piano and strings, and I have hands-on control of the balance between those two voices, the grand piano and the strings. And I don't have to do any menu diving. I can just reach up and grab the knobs. So here they are. Here's my lower instrument. As much or as little of the strings as I want, and I can do the same with the piano. Now that same scenario will be true when we're in the split mode. If I'd like to hear more of my bass in my left hand, I can turn that way up. And I can do the same with my right hand part. I can bring that up or bring it way down to have the mix that fits my taste perfectly. The dials on RD-08 will do different things depending on what you have turned on. Right now I'm going to turn on the EQ. And when I do that, these three dials are my lows, my mids, and my highs. Let's bring up the bass. Really hear that bass come through. Mids. Gives me quite a bit of presence there. My highs. So if you're on stage in the band and you just need to make a tweak, it's real easy. Reach up, turn on EQ, make your adjustment, right back to playing. Piece of cake, and I love it. Now let's take a look at the effects section. Turning on the effects, and the first one is tone color. And what I'm noticing here is that this actually decides how much of the EQ is going to be applied to my piano patch. From there, there's a multi-effects, and in the case of an electric piano, whether you sound like you're in a line level, an old speaker, a new speaker, a whirly speaker, or a twin. And it just gives you some different flavors, some different coloring to your electric piano tones. From there, we've got chorus and delay. Lastly would be the reverb. That's a short reverb. And you have full control over how much of it you'd like in your mix. Right there from the effects panel. When we were looking at effects, we were looking at the electric pianos, and we saw that the tone color had everything to do with how much EQ was being applied. Grand pianos, this tone color does something a little different. It gives you a wider stereo field. I think it's fantastic. Check this out. Listen to how the tone changes. I'm just going to play one chord for a little bit, and I'm going to slowly open it up. Compared to I like that feature a lot. There'll always be a place for a tight, narrow piano, and there'll always be a place for a wide stereo piano. Pretty cool that you have access to that right here. From time to time, you may find that you need to transpose your instrument. Well, transposing this instrument is a piece of cake. There's a hard button for it right here. I'm going to touch and hold it. And then from middle C, do I want to transpose up or down in half-step increments? Oh, perhaps the tune's in B flat, but I'm going to play it in C. So I'm going to touch and hold B, transpose, and then I'm going to touch B flat. And now my middle C sounds like B flat. I've transposed the whole piano down a whole step. Put it back to 0 by touching C again. So that's how you transpose, and it's real easy to do. This instrument does have built-in speakers, and they sound very impressive. If you're connected to an external speaker system, or you're doing some direct recording and you want the speakers off, well, you've got a handy button for that right over here. I can turn the speakers on or off. Next is these two wheels over here. I'm going to find these particularly useful for things like organ or synthesizers. For example, when I'm on an organ patch and I use the modulation wheel, the rotary effect kicks in. On that patch, I'm actually hearing two things happening when I use the modulation wheel. I'm hearing the rotary amplifier ramp up, but I'm also hearing some of the higher drawbars come out. So the different organ patches within RD-08 may do different things, but for sure that modulation wheel will give you fast and slow rotary speed control. If I'm on a patch like a synth, I'll experience some modulation with that modulation wheel, but I'll also be able to bend notes up or down with the pitch wheel. RD-08 is loaded with 3,000 tones now, and they're fantastic, but that's a lot of tones. And probably you're just going to need a handful of those for most of your gigs. And you're going to want to access those easily. And you can on RD-08, and here's how you do it. First of all, I'm going to create my favorite patch. I've already done a little work here, Cosmic Rays and Jazz Guitar. I like that patch a lot. I want to store it. I'm going to store it. So there's these buttons here, 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I can store 5 patches here under Favorites. So the first thing I'm going to do is touch and hold Favorites, and then select the location that I want to store it. Let's store it under 0. Now that has stored there, and to show you that it's stored there, I'm just going to go to an arbitrary patch, like an electric piano. Okay? Now to go back to my stored patch, I have to turn on Favorites. Now if I touch 0, there's my favorite patch that I just stored. Note, I had to turn on Favorites to get there, because if I didn't turn on Favorites and I still touched that button, well, now that button's for grand pianos. So let's get back to your favorites. Turn on Favorite, touch that button, and there you go. So that's how you can save 5 of your favorite sounds. But you can save so many more than just 5. If I have favorites illuminated and I touch Shift, now each of these becomes a bank of 5 patches. So I've actually got 25 of my favorite tones stored right beneath these 5 patches. Another way of storing sounds is in a scene. A scene incorporates everything, your splits, your layers, your effects, all of it. This instrument comes preloaded with 60 scenes from the factory, and they're very useful and very beautiful scenes. There's an additional 40 slots for you to save your own. So I can scroll through the preset scenes from each sound category. Right now I'm in grand pianos, and I can see already this first scene is a layer. Right? It's an electric piano and an acoustic piano. And I can scroll through all the different scenes that Roland put together for me by using the increment button. Strings and piano. There's going to be some scenes for every sound category. There certainly are scenes for electric pianos, and I want to talk about this very quickly because I think this is super cool. Roland has created a layer, but it's not a layer you'd expect. It's a layer of the electric piano tone along with a key off noise. Now, key off noise is something you experience when you're sitting at a vintage Tyne piano, and Roland has created a layer with that key off noise and the electric piano tone. And it's pretty cool, and of course you've got as much control over that noise as you want or don't want, right from these buttons here. On the rear of the instrument, that's where you're going to find all of the ins and the outs. You've got a 1/4-inch headphone jack, 1/4-inch left and right line outputs. You've got an 1/8-inch line input. You have a microphone input. Not 1, not 2, but 3 pedal inputs. 5-pin MIDI out. You have a USB to host port and a USB to device port. That's the Roland RD-08. It's a fantastic key action, feels great, has the ivory finish to it. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of high quality tones. Grand pianos, electric pianos, strings, synths, organs with rotary speed control, pitch and modulation wheel, multi-effects, 3-band EQ, a really nice tactile interface. You can split, you can layer. It's lightweight, it's cost effective, it's a professional grade product. RD-08 would be handy in almost any environment I can think of. If you're performing at church, if you're on stage with the band, if this is for your home studio, if it's for piano lessons, RD-08 would fit the bill for any of those scenarios. Once again, I'm Adam B. here at Kraft Music. I'd like to thank you for watching. If you have any questions about the Roland RD-08 or any of the instruments that we carry, we hope that you'll reach out and contact us.